Mika here, and today we're going to be painting our cardboard boxes that we made for our magical chocolate machine. I think our machine looks great when it looks like cardboard, but it could look even better if we make it look bright and colourful like Willy Wonka's factory. So, some key things you need to remember is to try and work as clean as you can. If your body isn't covered with a paint shirt, your clothes underneath might get ruined. It will come out in the wash if it does get a bit on your shirt or your shorts, it's okay. We also have newspaper underneath us, and if we get a lot of paint on our hands, you might want to have a little rag close by just to quickly wipe it off so that you're not putting it somewhere else. Please don't be painting your faces or your skin with this paint. It's not for skin, it won't hurt you, but again, we don't want to waste it and we don't want to be too silly. We've got a serious job here. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we need to remember that we fastened or secured our boxes with our blue screws, our make-do screws. We want to reuse these, so at the end of our project we might have to unscrew our pieces to keep the blue screws. What would happen if we painted those blue screws? Would we be able to use them again? Probably not. So what we need to do is your teacher or your assistant teacher will come around with pieces of masking tape. Now, masking tape is great because we can paint over it and then peel it off later and it will protect anything underneath. So I have here a little piece of masking tape. It's really easy, you can tear masking tape when it's paper tape. So very carefully and as accurate as you can, we're going to secure this tape around the outside of the screw. If you're going to be painting inside the box at all, which we might leave it unpainted so we can tell what we made it out of, but if you are going to paint it, then you will need to get a little piece of masking tape, it's just like the size of my thumb really, and secure the inside here. Can you see that? So that we fold this over, and at the end of our painting we can tear them all off and put them in the rubbish bin. So that's really easy. We want to make sure that it's well covered so that we're not getting paint on those little screws. So let's do that now. You can pause the video as you go around and you seal all of the screws on the things that you're going to paint. So we're going to use our paint. I've got two colours here. I think there's about 5 or 6 to choose from, including white. I thought it could look really cool if we did some designs as well. And this paint, if it's carefully done, will dry really quick. So we can paint box number 1, and while that's drying, we can paint box number 2, let that dry, come back and do our designs. So I have blue. I'm going to start with blue. You'll have a little pot with your paint. It's very important that you don't dribble the paint everywhere. That would look a little bit crazy. So I'm going to start with the sides of my box. So when I dip my brush in, I can wipe on the sides of the container. You can see that we're upcycling some containers for this project. And you need to stroke the area. Don't just stab the area that you're painting. You need to stroke it and make sure you spread it. If it's too thick, it's not going to dry. You can see that there's no drips or dribbles. But if I push it against myself, I would get paint everywhere. So be really careful, we don't want to waste our paint. These brushes are lovely to stroke and streak the paint. Spread it all out. Already this is drying, okay? So streak it, you don't want any little bumpy, rough areas. So dip your brush, wipe your brush. It's really important to wipe the brush and try not to flick because you will flick the paint out of the brush all over the person next to you, or all over the table, or all over your teacher. So be really careful, don't rush. I'm looking for really careful painters. I know that Willy Wonka's Oompa Loompas are really, really hoping to see excellent paintwork on their box. So dip it, wipe it on both sides, the bristles will hold the paint, and you can see here with the screws, I can just carefully paint around it. You don't have to paint all of the masking tape, but it will kind of be like a little raincoat for the screws. So paint really hold your hand on the inside and then you can brush your paint over the areas. Okay, as careful as you can. I don't even really have to dip my paintbrush into the paint so much because the brush will hold the paint for you. Okay, and look, within a minute I've already done 2 sides of my box. How lovely. So I'm going to keep painting and then let's see what I do next. Okay, I have all my sides painted blue. I'm also going to do underneath, but not the inside. So if I need the underneath to dry, I'm not going to dry it that way. That wouldn't dry very well. I'm going to dry it that way. Okay? So you do the sides first, and then you can do the back of your box very, very carefully. And then we'll leave it sitting this way up to dry. And then if we want to come back to the inside later, we can when the back is dry, and we can turn it over. I think the back of the box is always my favorite to paint. You get nice even strokes. Being really careful not to flick your paint. Voila! I have a blue box, a beautiful blue box. It's already drying on this side. You can start to see that paint drying. So I'm going to leave it over here. While that's drying, make sure it's drying on some newspaper. Maybe you can put it out on your lockers outside to dry. And I'm going to start my second one. Now, my hands are already covered in paint. I am a true artist, but the paint has dried. So I'm going to carry on. I'm going to do this little box a different color. Same process. Make sure the screws are covered inside and outside. And we start with the sides and then the bottom of the box. Dip it, wipe it, stroke it. I have 2 boxes done. I have a baby yellow box and I have a very big blue box. And this is almost dry. So if you leave it outside, it will dry better. But I think I'm ready to paint the inside of my box. Now I'm on my newspaper. I think I should leave it to dry a bit more, but I'm in a hurry. I'm actually going to paint the inside of my box a different color. It can be the same color, there's no problem to paint it all blue, or you might want to do blue with white inside, or pink with yellow inside. It's up to you to choose, and your teachers can help you get the paint, okay? So be really careful as you paint the inside of your box. If you don't paint the inside of your box and you like to leave it looking like cardboard, that's also a really cool idea. So it's totally up to you. Okay, so what if you're ready to make patterns on your box? Okay, now you've been given these big brushes. They hold a lot of paint, as you've seen. Now, I like it without the pattern, but if you want to make patterns, I'm going to give you some options. You'll get the option to be able to make some stripes. Okay, so I'm going to wipe my yellow brush. When it's dry, I'm going to take the width of this brush and I can paint a stripe. So dip it. We need to make a little layer. Okay, it depends what color. You might have a red box and you want some candy white stripes on top. So you can try and create that. Okay, so there's my very neat line. If you just kind of do it wherever and don't think about the direction of your brush, it might not look as neat and as cool as if you do it very carefully. So this is one example that I think is a really neat and careful way to make some patterns on your boxes. Okay, can you see that? So it's very neat and tidy. It connects with the color on the inside. Alright? And when that's dry, you could do a second layer if you want. I have this side as well. So I might try and do it all the way around, maybe. It's a little bit wet. Let's start on this side. So here's this stripe. So it comes around here. Okay. If it gets a bit messy and dribbly and you drop it, we can always wipe it off with your finger and the blue will be there. So it's okay. Take your time, make sure you wipe your brush and you just go layer by layer. And this is learning how paint works in layers. So just take your time, streaking that color there, keeping as neat and as even with the width of your brush. Okay, so it's in this little area here, and I can then streak that there. That looks really neat, and this is being a little bit more precise than just painting the surface. You don't have to do that. I have other boxes that you can be painting and covering for me, so that's fine, but if you really want to add some details and you have time, this might take at least 15 minutes to add your stripes, you can do that. Okay, if you think you want to add splodges, okay, if you wanted to add splodges and you have a big brush and you just went bleh, do you think it would look very good? I don't think so. So what we would need to do is wipe your brush very, very well. I'm going to hold my pot, wipe my brush really well. Precise painting means you have this square tip brush. We're going to use a corner of the brush to kind of create some small little circles. If you just splodged it on, it would look like a messy shape and it wouldn't be very neat as my little circle. So you dip the corner of your brush, just the corner, into the paint, and as controlled as you can create some little circles. Now, why doesn't Miss Mika just give you a smaller brush? There might be some smaller brushes on the trolley that you can use accurately, but I would love to see if you can follow the instructions to use the corner of the brush to do almost like little C shapes, C's backwards, and you can start to create some really nice patterns, right? I don't think we want to have circles, stripes, love hearts, stars. It will just not really look like a piece for the machine. Okay, so we need to keep things simple so that when we bring all of the parts together, it starts to connect. If it starts to look like you've got flowers on here and a robot painted on there and a star over here, it just really won't connect as an artwork. It won't really look like Willy Wonka's chocolate machine. So keep that in mind as you paint, as you create, and as you work carefully today. Have a great art lesson. I can't wait to see what you make. Bye! So, when you have finished painting and you're going to add no more paint, we need to remove the tape that's hiding here. Now, if we left it on, it might dry and we forget. Now, there's a little bit of a gap there with the cardboard, which is okay, because I think Mr. Willy Wonka will need to see what we've made our machine out of anyway. And then these little pieces will go in the bin. Remember that we also did it on the inside of the box. So if we turn it over, okay, that one is completely covered over here. So find those little bits of tape. Oh, mine's still wet. That's cool. There we go. And that, look at that blue screw is so neat, and we can throw that in the bin and then we can wash our hands. Great.